Hey friends, Seamus here on World Storytelling Day. And I have one that I would imagine many of us will remember from our childhoods. It's a lovely bit of Norse folklore. I hope you enjoy it. This is the story of the three billy goats, Gruff. Once upon a time, oh, so many hundreds of years ago I can't remember, on the foothills in central Norway, there lived three billy goats who were all named Gruff. And it was getting to be just about this time of year when billy goats think about leaving the lowland farms and making their way up onto the mountainside to eat the tall, sweet grasses of spring and summer so they can get nice and fat for the following winter. And the first one that sat out that morning, the first of the three billy goats, Gruff, was the youngest. He was barely a yearling, just a kid, you might say. He had soft little hooves that would still hurt on the stones, and he had just tiny little buds for horns. But he was adventurous, and off he went that morning, and down the path through the back of the farm and onto the trail that led towards the river. And of course, to get over the river, he had to cross a bridge. And going up over the bridge, his little feet hit the wood, and it was all trippity trap, trippity trap. And he was about halfway over the bridge when he heard this horrible whoa sound. And he stopped cold. And up over the railing of the bridge came a horrifying troll. And the troll said, "Who are you and why are you on my bridge?" And the wee Billy Goat Gruff said, "Oh, Mr. Troll, it's just me, Billy Goat Gruff. I'm just going over your bridge to get to the high mountain passes, eat the sweet grass, and get nice and fat." The troll said, "You're not going anywhere, goat. I know all you gruff goats, and you're not having anything on my bridge. I'm going to eat you up for my lunch." And the wee goat said, "Oh, Mr. Troll, but look at me. I'm just a tiny, wee, skinny, scrawny goat. I wouldn't fill you up. I wouldn't make a lunch for you. You should wait till later. There'll be bigger, older goats later on." Mr. Troll thought for a moment and said, "That's a good idea, Gruff. All right, go on with you. Get off my bridge." And the troll flipped over the railing and went back and hid underneath. And the wee Billy Goat Gruff went on his way up into the high mountain passes. Well, of course, shortly thereafter, along comes the second Billy Goat Gruff. Now, he's full grown, a year and a half or so old. And he's not a big old goat yet, but he's a full fella. 40 or 50 pounds he was, and his hooves were nice and hard for walking on rock. And he had good little buds of horns going up on his head. And off he went down the pathway towards the river and up onto the bridge. And he was only about a third of the way over with his little feet going trippity trap, when he heard this horrifying brawl. And sure enough, up over the railing came a horrifying troll. And the troll said, "Who are you and where are you going?" And the second goat said, "Oh, well, Mr. Troll, it's me, Billy Goat Gruff. It's springtime. I'm just crossing your bridge to get over the river, to go to the high mountain passes, to eat the sweet grass and get nice and fat for winter." And Mr. Troll, of course, said, "You're not going anywhere. I know all you gruffs. I've had enough of your stuff, and I'm going to eat you for my lunch." And Billy Goat said, "But Mr. Troll, look at me. I'm not even full grown yet. I wouldn't be much of a meal for you. Really, you should wait till later in the day and get a big belly-fulling goat, which I'm sure will be along soon." Mr. Troll thought for a moment and thought that was a good idea. And he said, "Fine, go on then. Get on your way. Get off my bridge." And he hopped over the rail and swung back underneath. And Billy Goat Gruff went on his way up to the fields to eat the grasses. Well, friends, you know what happened next. Soon after that, along came the biggest of the three Billy Goats Gruff, a full-grown male, 85, 90 pounds, with hard, scaly hooves and big, long horns up on his head. And he came down the pathway to the farm and onto the bridge, and he had only taken a step or two when he heard, "Roar!" And sure enough, over the railing came this horrible, terrifying troll. "Who are you and why are you on my bridge?" And the troll just kind of gave him a look and said, "Troll, you know perfectly well who I am. I'm Billy Goat Gruff. And you know what I'm doing, because it's springtime. I'm going to the high mountain fields to eat the sweet grass and get fat for the winter." And the troll said, "You're not going anywhere, Gruff. I've been waiting for you all day. I'm going to eat you and make you my supper. That's what I'm going to do." And Billy Goat Gruff looked at him, and with a look of shock on his face and more than a little bit of anger said, "Well, Mr. Troll, I have long spears. I'm going to poke you in the eye and poke you in the ears. And at the end of my hands, I got two big stones. I'm going to club you and break you body and bone." And with that, he launched himself at Mr. Troll, slammed into him and beat him with his front hooves and gored him with his horns, and actually caught him under the belly and flipped that troll up and over the rail and back down into the river, and then made his way over the bridge like nothing had happened. Well, the Billy Goats Gruff enjoyed their summer up on the hills, and they ate the tall grass, and they got nice and fat for winter. So fat, in fact, that on the way home, they could barely waddle their way over the bridge. But in crossing the bridge, they had no trouble from Mr. Troll, because he remembered the three Billy Goats Gruff and what had happened in the springtime. And they made their way off the bridge and they made their way up to the trail, down to their lowland farmland pasture, where they hunkered in the shade of a great elm tree, and all lived happily ever after.